Today on Rappler. Impeachment complaint endorsers call on the Senate to proceed with Vice President Sara Duterte's trial. President Marcos keeps his cabinet largely intact but is still continuing performance evaluations. Defense Secretary Teodoro slams China's pretend journalist at a regional defense forum. Ukraine-Russia peace talks in Istanbul ended after barely an hour. And Pagasa declares the start of this year's rainy season. Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment complaint endorsers call on the Senate and Senate President Chiz to proceed with her trial. This after Escudero moved the reading of the articles of impeachment from June 2 to June 11, citing the need to tackle priority measures before Congress adjourned sine die. 5 out of the 6 lawmakers who first endorsed impeachment complaints against Duterte in December asked, what is stopping the Senate from proceeding with Duterte's trial? With the Senate resuming session on Monday, June 2, the question of the impeachment trial's extension from the 19th to the 20th Congress intensifies. Senate Majority Leader Francis Tolentino asserts the Senate should no longer proceed with the trial due to constitutional limits.
Only 12 senators remain after each election, insufficient to form a quorum. Thus, we cannot carry unfinished proceedings into the next Congress.
Meantime, opposition Senator Risa Ontiveros and Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel say the Constitution does not prohibit impeachment crossover to the next Congress. The 20th Congress will open on July 28. It can decide whether or not to convene as an impeachment court and proceed with the trial by simply adopting the rules of the previous Congress. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. keeps his cabinet largely intact. This despite his ongoing cabinet revamp. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin announced on Tuesday, June 3, that the following courtesy resignations were declined by the president. Bersamin said the president accepted the resignations of Presidential Commission for the Urban Poor Chairman Maynard Sabile and Presidential Assistant for Visayas Terence Calatrava, while Presidential Advisor on Muslim Affairs Almarin Tilla was, quote, terminated. Tilla had earlier urged the president to sack Special Assistant to the President Antonio Lagdameo Jr. Bersamin also announced Francis Edrelin Lim's appointment as the Securities and Exchange Commission Chairman, replacing Emilio Aquino, whose term will expire on June 5. Bersamin adds this is not the end of the president's cabinet revamp, as there will be a continuing performance evaluation. The fates of National Security Adviser Eduardo Año and Presidential Communications Office Secretary J. Ruiz have yet to be announced. Philippine Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. slams what he called pretend journalists at Asia's premier defense dialogue. This on the same day he criticized Chinese military officials at a panel for asking, quote, propaganda spiels disguised as questions. Teodoro once again strongly criticized China for spreading disinformation and being hypocritical on issues related to Chinese aggression in the South China Sea, including the West Philippine Sea. Teodoro led the Philippine delegation to the Regional Defense Forum and began by criticizing China for not sending an official delegation. Beijing's top defense official Dong Jun skipped the dialogue, and instead, China sent representatives from the People's Liberation Army's National Defense University. In a post on the Armed Forces of the Philippines page on Saturday, May 31, Teodoro also called out Chinese nationals who tried to interview him and AFP Chief General Romeo Brawner Jr. A video from China Daily's program Media Unlocked showed a host trying to chase down Brawner for a quick interview.
Kahapon hinarang ako at yun nga pinipilit tayong tanungin, pero dahil nagmamadali kami, papunta kami dun sa isang meeting natin, bilateral meeting. Hindi ko sinagot. But then later on, naglabas sila sa WeChat, binaliktad nila yung istorya na umiiwas daw tayo sa mga tanong nila about West Philippine Sea.
Teodoro meanwhile said,
Si CS hindi sumagot sa tanong nila, ako nakipagsagutan. Dahil ang tanong nila, pabalagbag. Tapos, ang narrative nila sa WeChat, baliktad na. Yan ay utos ng Peking, hindi Beijing. At imbis na magpadala sila ng Defense Minister, nagpapadala sila ng mga bata na nagpapanggap na journalist.
Turkish officials say the second round of peace talks between Russia and Ukraine ended barely an hour after they started in Istanbul on Monday, June 2. This a day after a massive Ukrainian drone attack on Russia's nuclear-capable strategic bombers. The talks, the second time both sides have met directly since 2022, started almost 2 hours late. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said the aim of the meeting was to look at the chances for a ceasefire, talk about a possible meeting between the Russian and Ukrainian presidents, and explore more prisoner exchange options. Later, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, speaking from Lithuania, said both sides were working on a new prisoner exchange. His chief of staff added that Ukraine gave Russia a list of deported children that it wants returned. No other details about the talks were shared. The two sides were also expected to discuss their very different ideas of a ceasefire and a long-term peace deal. This amid pressure from US President Donald Trump that the US might stop helping with the talks if there is no progress. State weather agency Pagasa declares the start of the rainy season on Monday, June 2. This 3 days after announcing that the southwest monsoon or habagat is already affecting some parts of the country. To declare the start of the rainy season, at least 7 out of 13 stations across western Luzon and the Visayas must record 25 millimeters of rain in 5 days, with at least 1 millimeter for 3 consecutive days. The rainy season usually begins from late May or early June and lasts until November. For June to November, Pag-asa expects 11 to 19 tropical cyclones to enter or form within the Philippine area of responsibility. There have been no tropical cyclones in 2025 so far. Pag-asa announced the onset of the southwest monsoon on Friday, May 30. And that's today's wrap. I'm Kara Oliver. Thank you for watching. Click the link below for the full story. Follow us on Rappler's YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok.